Well, I know it has been a while, but I'm back at the project lawn today, just across the street. We're going to take a look at some things, see how things have been going during the summertime here, talk about kind of the process here if it would ever get to fall, but it just decided this year that it's not really feeling like fall at all. And so probably what's going to happen is we're going to go from our summer temperatures straight into cold temperatures at some point, because I just don't feel like there's going to be a whole lot of transition. If there is, that would be great, because that fall season and the transition into the cooler temperatures is essential for us, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. Been upper 80s. It's been very humid this morning. It's extremely humid outside again. It feels kind of much more like July here than it does late September. What's been happening with this yard is it does not have any irrigation, and I've seen some comments before on the fact that if you're going to take care of a yard without irrigation, it doesn't make any sense. It's not necessarily the case here for my climate, because we get about 35 inches of rain a year, and if you're taking care of things properly, it can make it through all of those stress summer points by going dormant, so the grass kind of turns a brown color. It's looking like it's kind of dead, but it's not dead. It's just sitting waiting there for our cooler temperatures to come back, and so you can get away with that, no problem, without irrigation here. Of course, if you want to keep a green yard, you would need to keep it irrigated, but it's not a necessity. What happens then in the fall time when our cooler temperatures come back, our moisture comes back, is the lawn says, oh, I'm getting back to what I like, comes back out, and it's going to be much better again. So taking care of it, even without irrigation, is going to set us up for the good times of the year, so that the lawn looks better, it makes it through that stress of summer as well. So irrigation is nice. It's not a necessity in all cases. All this work that you're going to, if you don't have irrigation, it's not for nothing. It's still there for a reason. And so that's kind of the case with this yard, and we're now getting to the time when I hope it's going to start looking better from fall temperatures. So with that dormancy that happened during the summertime for a month or so, whatever the case is, however long, this year was not extreme for us because we were still getting rain during the hotter parts of the season, so that was a good thing. But you can see here a piece of bluegrass. This is a good chunk that is looking pretty good. Next to it you will see some of this brown kind of mixed in stuff here. So I'm going to get my soil probe out now. I'm going to take a sample out of here, and we are going to see if there's any excess thatch, or if it's just pretty much just dormant grass still laying here that will come off this fall, and we don't really need to intervene any more than that. If you look at this closely here, we notice that there's not much of a thatch layer up on top. It's very minimal. So all this stuff that's on here that's looking brown just tends to be that dormant grass that's not there. There's a rhizome right there. So I'm not worried about coming in and dethatching this because there's no excess thatch to remove. Of course, we could come in and remove this dead stuff. That would be fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But because I'm late in the season, and I mentioned it could change to cooler temperatures really here at any point, I would want some recovery time for that if possible, and so without excess thatch, I don't really need to intervene at this point. I'm going to let that be what it is, and we will be fine here in a few weeks as we're pushing the other grass to grow in from fertilizer. So this area out here near the street was the worst this spring, and it's looking much, much better. We do have some weeds still coming in here, especially near the sidewalk areas where things got very warm during the summer. And without that added irrigation, sometimes it tends to happen that weeds can take over. Overall, there's some weeds sporadically through there. We can take care of those this fall. I've been waiting again for it to cool down slightly so that I can actually get that done. And otherwise, today it is time for the first fertilizer application. Now, again, I'm telling you that this is a little bit late for what I wanted to do, and we could have started with some organics earlier on, but with this not being irrigated, our yards just have not looked like fall at all here. So I did not really want to lay fertilizer on a yard that was still dormant. It's not really something I would recommend doing, even if it's organic. You can do it if you want to, but it's just going to stay sitting there, not really working too much until that actual irrigation or rainfall comes back for you. So today, although it's already late September, we're just going to push this hard for a couple applications for sure. Hopefully maybe our season will extend a little more and we can keep going on fertilizer. So the homeowner just picked up some Scott's fertilizer from the store we're going to put down. I've used it many times. Just the turf builder stuff works well. So that is going to be the plan, and I also got a new spreader which I have not used too much, so we will try that out today. So all you guys can stop making fun of me for the mini spreader, although I still do have it. I still like it, and I still recommend it for those who don't want to really spend a lot of money at the beginning. So if you remember here from earlier in the season, we have 4,000 square feet. This is a 15,000 square foot bag for coverage as far as what it's talking about for rate here. So this says to apply 2.5 pounds per 1,000 square feet. If we multiply that out times the nitrogen percentage, which is 32 in here, we would come up with an application rate of 0.8 pounds of nitrogen on the ground. This is going a little bit higher than my recommended fall program that I do personally, which is 0.5 usually per application, but as I mentioned, we're getting late into the season. I would rather do a couple heavier apps now since we're so late and kind of get some things going on this yard. So with this spreader, I have not used it yet. It is calling for a setting of 3.5. We'll start somewhere around there. The edge guard now is located here on this one, which is interesting. So that's how that works. Let's try it. So it feels like a nice even spread there. I like that. I like this because it has a lighter color to it and you can really see it coming out. You know where it's spreading to, and you can follow your lines there a lot easier without over applying. So far so good with that thing. As I said, I haven't done enough extensive testing to really know the long term of that spreader, but easy to use, and it just feels more grounded with those wheels instead of the plastic wheels. But is it a massive difference? Can you get by with that other spreader? Absolutely. I still see no issue with the cheap one. Works fine. Just if you want somewhat of a better kind of ride, quote unquote, you will get one with these wheels instead of the plastic wheels. Now before we go any further today, please remember to blow off the sidewalks. Make sure that you remove that fertilizer so it's not going to go down into the waterways. Get it back into the yard where we want it to be. So the next thing that I'm going to apply is the soil Hume from Simple Lawn. This is in my Lawn Essentials box. So you can check out that video as well if you want to see what is in that box and what you get as far as the Simple Lawn products. But this product is good really anytime that it's not frozen ground for our cool season lawn. So this is good though, transition times, summer to fall or spring into summer. Those transitions when we want to give the grass some extra boost as far as roots go. And right now is a good time to do that. This will also help to water in our fertilizer. This product should be watered in, but since you're using the hose end, water's coming out mixing with it. That's kind of basically the same thing. So temps look to be cooling down somewhat next week, so I will be back to do some weed control and talk about that process. Okay, so our weather has finally cooled down enough for me to get over to the project yard and spray a few of the weeds that are going on. Mostly looks like just regular broadleaf stuff that's happening there. So I bought this last spring as part of our project over there. The first thing that I did was sprayed something like this in a hose end version, and then I bought some concentrate just in case we needed to use it again. So this is what I'm going to use this time. You can use any regular over-the-counter stuff for broadleaf weeds like this. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. And after that, if we find anything that this thing is not getting rid of, we can move to something more aggressive. But for those of you who are new to spraying, or even if you're not, going with something like this tends to be very safe to try first, and most of the time I have no issues getting rid of most of the weeds that we would have in a general yard here with some product like this. And I'll probably blanket spray pretty much everything over there. It looks like there's enough that I'm going to need to cover most of the areas. If I see areas that don't have anything, I won't spray those areas, no need to really. But if I'm finding that everything is pretty much mixed throughout there, then I'll just pretty much blanket spray everything and we'll go from there. Recommended rate says 2 ounces per gallon. That's supposed to cover 500 square feet. I'm not really sure why they've divided it into 5, because usually 1 gallon will spray out to 1,000, but that's what the directions say. So we'll see what happens here. As I mentioned, I think there's some areas that will not need to be sprayed and will be more spot spraying. So it says 2 ounces per gallon of water. So I'm going to fill my sprayer up completely, put 4 gallons into there, and so I will need 8 ounces of this product. So I will just do 4 and 4, make it easy here. I'm also going to add in some surfactant. This says 1 to 2 teaspoons per gallon for 2,4-D herbicides, stuff like that. We got teaspoons. So this is just going to help the spray to actually stick to the leaves of the weeds a little bit better. No doubt about it, this thing is going to be heavy. So put this on. So you can see it really well here on this clover, what that surfactant does. If you've ever sprayed clover before with just water, you'll notice that there will be little droplets on there and it doesn't look coated, but with that surfactant, all of that clover is coated with the weed killer, and that way it's going to do a much better job on getting rid of it. So that's going to do it for today's video. I'll let you know of the progress as soon as I see some things coming up here. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.